Vandy Boys pitching staff aim for more consistency, and Jacob Humphreys brings speed to the lineup. Should he be a permanent fixture? Let's get it.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast and the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. On today's episode, we're going to explore how the pitching staff can find more consistency as the Vandy Boys welcome Gonzaga this weekend. And Jacob Humphreys' speed is an absolute asset in the lineup, and he absolutely should be in there more frequently. And then we'll have some nuggets to get you through to the weekend as well. Thanks for making us, meaning Locked On Vandy, your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers, join today and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Well, the Zags are coming to town. This Vandy pitching staff desperately needs to find some answers in the rotation and, more importantly, in the back end of the bullpen. Well, Carter Holton is a projected starter, so he could be an option as a Friday spot. And Ryan Ginther just picked up his first save of the season against Eastern Kentucky, had a really nice outing in the ninth inning as the closer. Could he be closing in on that? Pun intended. I think so. So answers. I think this pitching staff, and I think maybe the panic button was hit a little bit too soon, maybe on this pitching staff, but there are some concerns. And that 7-run eighth inning on Wednesday night or Tuesday night was all but beneficial to their efforts. But, I think in having that experience, they have found some answers. That Levi Huseman had a solid outing against Eastern Kentucky. Ryan Ginther came in and shut the door. I think the battle for the closer job is going to be his, at least tonight. And if they get into a save situation, which hopefully the bats come alive enough to where they don't get in a desperate save situation, but they do get to run him out there. What I really liked about Ryan Ginther is that he looked, and I use this word a lot when I talk about baseball, especially pitching, but he looked in command up there. He had, he had great velocity. His placement in the zone was really, really good. He kept the ball down. He kept batters off balance. And he has this air of confidence in him that when he gets up there, like, hey, this is my mound. This is my inning. You're not ruining it. And I'm going to sit you down 1, 2, 3. And that's exactly what he did. And I was impressed. I was impressed with his outing also when he came in just in relief. I believe it was one day this weekend. There was a day where he came in, had a really nice appearance. I can't remember. All the days run together at this point. All the games run together at this point, but he's had some solid outings, and being a lefty out of the pen, he can come in and just slam that door. His stuff is pretty electric, and he just the biggest thing about what he brings to the mound is poise. He's got that intensity, he's got that fire, he's got that confidence, but he's also got that poise to kind of channel it all into just pounding the zone with fastballs and sliders and things like that, just to keep these hitters off balance. So I thought he did a phenomenal job of that. And I think moving forward, I think it's his race now to lose as the closer. Now, Sawyer Hawks can come in and he can kind of settle in as that right-handed power guy, the transfer from Air Force. And he can really kind of get his footing back, but I think it's going to be an uphill climb for him, just because he's just gotten shelled in his only two outings. He's been He hasn't been great. He hasn't been able to find the strike zone consistently. And I think it's an emotion thing where he just gets up there and gets too amped up and just can't control his emotions and can't settle down so that he can get command. And he's just not getting guys out. And then when he's making mistakes, he's leaving pitches up in the zone, and the other team is just driving it. And that's what Dayton did. That's what FAU did. They just drove the baseball on him. And you can't make mistakes like that because good teams will pounce. And in college baseball, baseball is a really good equalizing sport because there's a lot of people that are good and there's a lot of players to kind of go around. So like you get Division I baseball, there's guys. Now, the difference between a Vandy, an Ole Miss, a Florida, Tennessee versus an Eastern Kentucky or FAU or a Georgia State or whatever is just the depth of those rosters and knowing that, okay, Eastern Kentucky might have 2 or 3 guys in the lineup that can make you pay. They might have one pitcher like Dayton. Dayton had this guy, had this closer that came in and threw from a funky arm angle. You did not want to see him. And he came in and he just slammed the door. And so, these teams have a lot of those guys. Like Vandy should have a lineup, and we'll talk about that here in a second, but Vandy should have a lineup 1 through 9 that are very difficult to get out, are very, you don't want to pitch to anybody 1 through 9, whether it's Jacob Humphrey or Jonathan Vastine, guys that can dump and run, whether it's, Alan Espinal, who can launch it and hit for power, RJ Austin, who can kind of do all of it. And some of the guys coming off the bench in pinch hitting situations, or like if you need to shift the lineup around a little bit to get some of these guys in, whether it's injury, slump, whatever, you've got a lot of depth there on the roster. But with baseball, the difference between baseball and other sports is that talent doesn't always win out. It's sometimes you're just not on. And when you're not on, like when you're a little bit off pitching, no matter how good you are, people are going to drive the ball, right? Even the best in the major leagues have rough outings, right? If your timing is just slightly off at the plate, it's not good. Like you can go in a massive slump and it doesn't matter. I could be pitching up there and you're not going to hit, right? There's some times where you hit rockets, but right at people. Like there's some luck involved too, and there's some bounces and fortunate things that happen. But baseball's kind of like a great equalizer sport. Now, if Vandy rolled up there against Valdosta State, now that would probably be a different story. But when it's all Division I talent, guys that because like the top like in football, like the top guys can't go to the NFL. They have to come to college. So you have the top guys, and then you have the rest. That's why G5 is so competitive, because it's like all like the same caliber players. Well, within baseball, like the top guys go to the MLB. And so you're left with the pool of like really good Division I guys that get spread out. So you have a lot more parity, a lot more equal teams. So didn't know that was going to be my take, but the point of all of that is that when you're looking for consistency, you have to have emotional control, you have to have command, and you have to place the ball in the strike zone. Let your defense go to work. Ryan Ginthard has done a good job of that. He's been effective, right? In the starting rotation, Andrew Dukanich and J.D. Thompson has done a tremendous job at pounding the strike zone, and they've gotten results. J.D. Thompson, unfortunately, didn't get the result, but I think that's a different story for a different day. I think the pitching, I think the starter should go longer. Also, like I think pitching them into the 6th, maybe even 7th inning, letting these guys run is that's one of my least favorite parts about modern baseball is all the analytics and all the pitch counts and stuff, man. Like, let these guys freaking spin. If J.D. Thompson's throwing heat, man, let him go. let him go. Let him do his thing. Because if he's getting guys out, if you're getting guys out, guess what they're not doing? Scoring runs. And if they're not scoring runs, guess what they're not doing? Winning. So leave these guys in. Like, I think that's it. I think that's an answer. Now, Tim Corbin's won 2 national championships, and I'm just sitting here behind a microphone. So, I'm going to trust a lot of his decisions, but I just don't like the overall thing of, like, I think sometimes in these losses, if I'm looking from an outsider looking in, I think sometimes you second guess yourself, or you outthink yourself and overanalyze, which coaches, I'm a coach. It's so easy to do that. And so I think Ginter's got to be your closer. I think that's my original point. It probably got lost in there somewhere. Ginter is your closer, and I think these starters should go longer. And we're going to see Carter Holton back in the rotation, see what he's got. I really liked his stuff on Saturday when he came in a relief appearance. He's not a reliever, so his outing is probably a little bit misconstrued, but I think it was just all about getting him some pitches. But we're going to get a chance to see him start. He probably won't go long. So you'll see probably Huseman. You'll probably see some of these other relievers that, we haven't seen a whole lot of. Ethan McIlvaine might be coming in long relief on days that, like, Carter Holton pitches. So you could have like 2 co-starters or whatever, because McIlvaine, I think, is going to be a future starter. He could have gotten drafted. So the pitching staff, I think those are some of the answers that would be beneficial. Just let these guys go, man. And then find your rotations. I think build around not Jacob Ginter, but build around Ryan Ginter as your closer. Then find your next goal is find your 8th inning guy, and then your 6th and 7th inning guys. And if you're Tim Corbin, I guess you need to find a 5th inning guy too, which is mind blowing. But anyway, Jacob Humphrey, man, he's been impressive with his speed and the impact that he had on the base paths and hitting the baseball. He should be a fixture in the lineup. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. All right. This episode is brought to you by Ibotta. That's right. Grocery bills are so expensive these days, but now they don't have to be. Start getting cash back on your grocery shopping with the free Ibotta app and get cash back every time you shop. Do you love making money, but also spending money? Don't we all? Now you can make money while you spend it every time you shop with Ibotta. So Ibotta is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies to toys. So you can make sure you're beating the inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That would cover the cost of an entire shopping trip. So you can buy that flight you've been eyeing, that game you've been dying to go to, or that fancy dinner you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, just add your offers in the app, upload your receipt, and get real cash that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Join over 50 million users and earn cash back every time you shop from over 2,700 brands and retailers, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. So right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 for just trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or Apple App Store and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. All right, welcome back. It is the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Thank you to the everydayers. Without you guys, it would not be possible. Also, follow us on social media at Locked On Vandy on X and IG. Follow my personal X account at Coach Burton36 and at Coach Corey Burton on Instagram. Find us on YouTube. Find us on anywhere you get your podcast as well. So, Vandy Baseball is something that, there's some concerns. I get it. there's concerns, right? Not scoring as many runs as you'd like to against a team like FAU, Dayton, and East Carolina. You have games in control, but you lose that control when your pitching starts to falter and you can't score runs. Well, the ever challenging challenge, if I may, is finding the right mix in a lineup that has people of so many different skill sets, right? Because like one combination of the lineup doesn't give you a whole lot of power, but gives you a ton of speed, which is RJ Austin, Jacob Humphrey, and Calvin Hewitt in the outfield. That gives you a huge speed bump because you have three really good base runners in the outfield joining Jonathan Vastine coming from the infield as a speed guy. So not a lot of pop, but a lot of speed. So if you got a pitcher that is just hitting the zone and you just want to dump and chase and run, that's in a tight ball game that could be beneficial. But sometimes you just need to pile on the runs. And in college baseball, in the metal bats and the ping and the ping, sometimes it's good to have a launch pad. So I don't think Tim Corbin has found the right lineup combination and putting guys in the right spots. Like Jack Bolger is a really good hitter, but he's inconsistent and he can sometimes be a defensive liability. But the catch-22 is that when he DHs, he doesn't hit as well because it doesn't seem like he's as engaged. So he probably needs to catch, or he just doesn't need to be in the lineup. But that's an option. Like he can hit. He took the first pitch yard, so he has that capability. But he's got to find a way to be able to do that from the DH spot. Jaden Davis is somebody that can hit a little bit, and he can drive the ball in gaps. He's shown that he can hit for power. He's got to be in the lineup some. Like Cameron Koziel also really, he's got a pretty strong bat. Don't know a ton of what he's got defensively, but he's somebody also that can be in the lineup. And I think in a 3-game set, you have the luxury of being able to change some of these guys around a little bit and get some different combinations based on what the matchup is and the pitching matchup is. So I think because Carter Holton's going to be on the mound throwing strikes, but I think Braden Holcomb needs to find his way in the lineup. But most importantly, I think with Jacob Humphrey's speed, the transfer from UMass Lowell is I think you have him and RJ Austin in the outfield, and you just kind of build the rest around that, because I think Troy Leneve hits with good enough power. RJ Austin is kind of a hybrid power speed guy. So he's somebody that can be a fixture in this lineup. But, I think your best combination is those three: Austin, Leneve, and Jacob Humphrey. But if you're having trouble at first base where Austin Fort's not ready and Maldonado's in a massive slump, you need, they tried RJ Austin at first. I think it was against Dayton. They tried RJ Austin at first, which was fine. But you didn't have enough pop in the lineup, so you couldn't string enough hits together to score a significant amount of runs, especially if your bullpen's struggling. So it's just one of those things where you just got to find ways to get power into the lineup creatively where you can get guys in the best spots defensively. So those are some options. But I do think with Jacob Humphrey, he's got to be an asset. He's making a huge impact. He's stealing bases. He's stretching singles into doubles. He's running down fly balls in the outfield. I mean, it's, he's turning into a really, really good, impactful player. And I think he will be that as the season wears on, especially you get into the dog days of the schedule in mid-April, where you're just kind of slogging along a little bit. He's somebody that can bring some juice, because that's what you need. You need somebody that can rip 2 bags, score on a sac fly, and next thing you know, now you started a rally because you're just annoying on the base paths. And so you need that. But you also, if you have too much of that, you don't have guys to drive them in, right? So you have to hope for walks and errors and things like that, which happen, but not frequently enough to be like, oh, well, that's what we're counting on. So, but they welcome Gonzaga to the fold. The starting pitching, I'm really confident in Futrell. So Sunday, I think is locked up. But when you look at the other matchups, you have Carter Holton, which we're not sure what he's going to be like in a starter capacity. So that's going to be interesting there. But again, so a little tail of the tape here is Gonzaga opened the season dropping all 3 to UCLA. And this will be the first 3 meetings between the 2 programs. So that's interesting as well. This is going to be good here. But a couple stats to know from the doors is that through Vanderbilt's first 5 games, R.J. Austin has played 5 different positions: first, second, third, left, and center field. 5 different Commodores have already hit multiple doubles. They've hit 14, which is 9th in all of D1. Davis Diaz leads that with 3, so he's somebody that can drive the ball. The Commodores are 17 of 17 on stolen base attempts. That ranks 3rd nationally. Humphrey has team high 5 steals. You see my point there? Followed by R.J. Austin and Calvin Hewitt. That would be the speed lineup, right? So Jonathan Vastine has 2 home runs. Brent Cyber has recorded a 3-inning save Sunday against Florida Atlantic. So he's somebody that he's a freshman. He's somebody that could be vying for a closer spot or that eighth inning setup guy spot. Jack Bolger led off the season with a home run. It was the first opening day home run by Commodores since probably 2003. But yeah, I'm excited to kind of see what Gonzaga brings to the plate. This is going to be interesting, right? This is going to be interesting. So I'm definitely intrigued, and we're this weekend's going to be intriguing, right? So we'll I'm going to get you through that. There's EA Sports has come it's official that college football 25 is coming out. So that's NCAA 25 is coming out. So that's exciting. So we'll talk more about that as well. So just hold your horses. All right. As you listen to these sweet rumbles of thunder, I don't know if you can hear them coming through the microphone, but this episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel is the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up the show here. Welcome back. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen. Make sure when I am done, make sure you go check out Chris Gordy and Locked On SEC. Make sure you find us on social media. Make sure you comment, things like that. We have some in the very near future going to have some shows that we're going to need a lot of audience participation in. So I'm excited about that. All right. But basketball is heading to Gainesville to take on the Gators. Whew. There's some heat around that program. Getting thumped by Georgia on Wednesday. Getting thumped by Tennessee the previous Saturday. Getting thumped in most of your games throughout the course of the season. Having the very same problems, things like that. There's a lot happening with this team. And, there's a lot of heat around Jerry Stackhouse. And understandably so, rightfully so, and also rightfully so, he's defending himself in the press conference and saying, he's saying all the things he needs to say as the head coach, which is fine and well. But I think we all know kind of the issues that are surrounding this program. And I think it's just he can't – I think where he falls short is like he's just not talented in the way of getting a group of young guys to gel and play college basketball, right? Because he's an NBA guy. And that's fine. Like, and he may go to the NBA and he may flourish. You may see him become the next head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves and they win a championship. I hope his next venture, I'm not saying he's going to get fired, but I hope his next venture, he's successful. Like, I like Jerry Stackhouse. I really loved watching him play. But unless he pulls a miracle, I just think it's time for a change. And he probably deep down knows that. And that's unfortunate to say. You hate saying that. You hate having to say that. But, the truth is just that. Like, if there's a change that is needed, there's a change that is needed. Mark Richt was one of the most successful coaches in University of Georgia history. But a change was necessary at the time they made the change. And like any other competitive human, they're not going to just step out willingly because they know that change needs to be had. They're going to try to fight their way out of it, which I appreciate that. I really do. I like Stackhouse. But you can tell he feels the pressure. You can tell he knows that what he's doing is not acceptable. So I think change is on the horizon, and it should be. And like I said, nothing personal to him. It just, the situation just didn't go in his favor. It didn't work out for him. And he just could not adjust to the college style of coaching. And it's not for everybody. He could be a hell of a pro coach. I think he still has a chance to do that. He has every bit of chance to do that. He's a smart guy, obviously knows the game of basketball, excelled at a high level in the NBA, all of which I can't say that I did. But you just watch this team and you can just tell that they just don't, I don't know. There's just no connection there. I just don't see a connection. That I do know, being a coach. Like, I can tell connection. I can tell when they're playing hard and they're just not talented. This is not the case. Like, Vandy football played hard, but there was just no talent there at the most important positions. And there was, and obviously coaching changes needed to happen, and they did. So that was some really impressive lightning, by the way. So anyway, before we wrap up, man, EA Sports is coming out with College Football 25. They're calling it College Football 25. So here's some notes on that. And this is really exciting. I can't wait to start my Vandy dynasty, right? I'm probably, honestly, my crazy butt's probably going to start in like the lower levels and try to work my way up to getting SEC jobs. So I probably won't start one with Vandy. I'll probably go to like Air Force or like somebody like that, like some low level G5 team, right? I'll go to like Georgia State, somewhere like that. That's just kind of what I do. But anyway, couple points from this. Real coaches won't be in the game, at least in this version. They will have NIL and transfer portal stuff, so you can experience that. You will not be able to create a player who chooses not to be in the game. Only FBS teams will be in the first installment. So FCS is still going to be that same like 1AA Southwest. It's going to be that. There's over 11,000 contracts that are being sent out to each player. They will choose to receive $600 and a free game on their console. There'll be some brand ambassadors on top of that will probably get a completely different package. The game will be completely different than Madden, even though it's ran on the same performance system. And the playoffs and realignment will be customizable. So when you're in year 12 of your dynasty and you are University of Buffalo playing in the Big Ten, Thanks, EA. So a lot of fun with this game. This is going to, these conference alignments are going to be, I'll just say, interesting. But here's what I plan to do in the near future with programming as I go into overtime. Vanderbilt football tweeted this. This is what gave me the inspiration. So I can't take full credit, but I'm going to take it and run with it. All right. What I'm going to do, they ran some mock covers with all-time Vandy greats. And we're going to have kind of like a competition to see who's going to be the top cover boy, who would be the top cover athlete for Vanderbilt football on this video game. So there's a lot of candidates. This is where we're going to need the fan support. We're going to need you to vote each week on like the two matchups. So I'll probably do a 12 team. I'll probably try to pick the top 12, and we'll do a 12 team playoff, since that's the kind of the theme of what college football is going to be. So we'll do a 12 person playoff, and it'll be matchups, things like that. You'll vote on them, and the winners will move on, and it'll be based on like kind of like creating your Mount Rushmore for Vanderbilt football. So that'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully, it'll get some of those guys involved as well. And then hopefully the winner, we can get them on the show. So anyway, with that being said, I am way over time. So I thank you for listening. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you make it down to the Hawk to see some Vanderbilt baseball. I hope the pitching does find its answers, and Vanderbilt takes the sweep on the Zags. Thank you for listening. Make sure you find us on social media. This is the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. We'll see you back here on Monday. Until then, have a great weekend and anchor down. And the thunder rolls.